The wind blowing across the jagged spine of the northern mountains doesn't sound like a mere current of air. It sounds like an ancient, rhythmic respiration of the breathing of a slumbering reptile. To stand atop these watchtowers at dawn is to witness a profound suspension of engineering reality. Below you, the mist pools and vertical ravines, completely hiding the valley floor, and riding the waves of that rocky sea, rising and falling with sickeningly ribbon of stone and brick. This is the Great Wall of China, but to describe it merely as a wall is to describe the sea merely as a water. Look closely at the spine of these mountains. It doesn't just sit on the earth, it carves through it. For centuries, Western maps called it a wonder. The locals called it Wanli Changcheng, the long wall of 10,000 li. But to understand it, you have to look past the postcard images. You have to look at the blood dried into the mortar and the impossible engineering that kept it standing while entire empires crumbled into dust. This is not just a wall, it is an active military ecosystem, a thousands of miles long dragon built across ridges so steep that even goats lose their footing. How did an ancient civilization construct a skyscraper-sized barrier over jagged peaks without modern cranes, concrete, or computers? Today, we are going to hike an architectural adventure to deconstruct the greatest engineering marvel. This is International Hike. As we continue, please press the subscribe button, like, and share this video to reach interested people. When most people think of the Great Wall of China, they picture this: pristine, uniform gray brick, majestic watchtowers, and wide walkways where tourists snap selfies. This is the Ming Dynasty section near Beijing. But this is actually just the final chapter of a story that spans over 2 millennia. Before there was a unified China, there was chaos. 7 warring kingdoms hacked away at each other for supremacy. To protect their borders, each state built its own disconnected walls. They weren't using stone yet. They used what was right beneath their feet: dirt. In 221 BCE, a man named Qin Shi Huang conquered them all, becoming the first emperor of China. He looked at these fractured walls and saw a fatal flaw: isolation. He issued a decree that sounded mad at the time: connect them, build a single unbroken defensive barrier to shield civilization from the brutal nomadic horsemen of the north, the Xiongnu. This wasn't an architectural triumph initially, it was a human tragedy. It's estimated that over 1 million people died constructing Qin's wall. It became known as the longest cemetery on Earth. But how do you build a wall across thousands of miles when you don't have access to stone quarries? We tend to think of dirt as weak, but the ancient engineers weaponized it using a technique called hang-tu, or rammed earth. Out here in the desert, there were no trees for kilns and no stone to quarry, so they improvised with what they had: low soil, gravel, and desert shrubs. The secret to its survival is structural layering. By adding layers of desert reeds, they created an ancient form of composite engineering. The reeds acted like modern steel rebar, providing incredible tensile strength. As the soil dried in the arid desert heat, it underwent a chemical transformation, turning as hard as sandstone. Look at this. These reeds are over 2,000 years old. They're dry, but they haven't rotted because the hyper-arid climate preserved them. When the fierce Mongolian winds assault this wall, it doesn't break. It flexes, it absorbs the kinetic energy of the desert. During the subsequent Han Dynasty, the wall was extended deep into the western deserts to protect the lucrative trade routes of the Silk Road. But this created a terrifying logistical puzzle. How do you keep tens of thousands of garrison soldiers hydrated and fed in a wasteland where water kills? The builders didn't just build upward, they dug downward. They mapped out the water tables of the desert, placing watchtowers at precise intervals where underground water could be tapped. If a well ran dry, the tower was abandoned. The wall's path wasn't a straight line. It was a calculated dance across oasis coordinates. In areas with high salinity, the engineers used the salt to their advantage. They mixed brackish water with the loess. As evaporation occurred, the salt crystallized on the outer layer, creating a waterproof, crusty armor that prevented the interior soil from washing away during rare, violent desert flash floods. It was self-sealing architecture. For centuries, the rammed earth walls sufficed, but in the 14th century, the geopolitical landscape changed forever. The Mongols had breached the old walls, ruled China, and were now pushed back north. They wanted revenge, and they had advanced siege weapons. Rammed earth could no longer hold. The Ming dynasty needed a radical redesign. They needed stone, they needed brick, and strangely, they needed breakfast. To build a wall that could withstand cannon fire and seismic activity, Ming engineers invented something that sounds like a culinary experiment gone wild. They mixed slaked lime, a standard mortar component, with boiled sticky rice soup. This created a specialized organic-inorganic hybrid mortar. The amylopectin in the sticky rice inhibited the growth of calcium carbonate crystals, resulting in a compact microstructure. This made the mortar incredibly dense, waterproof, and chemically resistant. It was so potent that today, modern weeds cannot grow between these bricks, and in earthquakes, the joints flex rather than snap. With the recipe for indestructible mortar locked down, the Ming faced their next nightmare: physical gravity. How do you transport millions of individual 30-pound bricks and multi-ton granite foundation stones up ridges that humans can barely climb empty-handed? They used everything. Human chains stretching for miles, passing bricks hand-to-hand up vertical slopes. They customized harnesses for thousands of local mountain goats, overloading them with bricks. But for the massive granite blocks used at the foundations, they had to build complex mountain winch systems, cutting tracks directly into the bedrock to slide the stone up. If you've ever walked the wall, you'll notice the steps are intentionally uneven. This wasn't bad craftsmanship. It was psychological and tactical warfare. Local builders knew every stone, but an invading soldier carrying heavy armor and weapons would trip constantly trying to storm up these irregular stairs in the dark. People often see the wall as a passive barrier, like a fence. It was an active weapon system, and its core node was the hollow watchtower, perfected by the legendary Ming general Qi Jiguang. These towers were self-sustaining fortresses. If invaders breached the lower wall, the soldiers would retreat inside the tower, seal the heavy iron-reinforced oak doors, and defend it internally. The narrow staircases inside were designed with sharp turns, meaning a single defender at the top could hold off dozens of attackers below. But a fortress is only useful if it can call for help. Long before fiber optic cables, the Ming dynasty built an optical internet along the ridges of China. They used a complex binary signaling system across thousands of towers. The code was highly sophisticated. One puff of smoke or one fire signal meant an enemy force of roughly 100 men was approaching. 2 columns of smoke meant 500. 3 columns meant over 1,000. Combined with acoustic signals like bronze gongs and early explosive firecrackers, military intelligence could travel over 500 miles in just a few hours. The Central Command in Beijing knew about an invasion before the enemy even reached the base of the mountain. For all its military genius, the wall had one silent, deadly enemy that didn't carry swords: water. If you build a solid wall across thousands of miles of mountainous terrain, you effectively create a giant dam. When the monsoon season hits, the hydrostatic pressure would rip these walls apart from the inside out. The builders designed thousands of hidden culverts, drains, and overhanging stone spouts to divert rainwater away from the foundation. The wall didn't block nature, it managed it. It was a masterpiece of hydraulic engineering designed to channel flash floods away from the structural masonry. In the end, no wall lasts forever. The Ming Wall was eventually bypassed not by siege weapons, but by political betrayal when a general opened the gates at Shanhaiguan to the Manchu forces. But the architecture outlasted the dynasties that built it. It stands today as a testament to what humanity can achieve when we confront the impossible with raw dirt, sticky rice, and unyielding human will. Next time you look at the Great Wall, don't just see a barrier. See a monument to human ingenuity etched into the crust of our world. The Great Wall of China remains one of the greatest monuments to human ambition ever conceived. It is an enduring testament to what can happen when a civilization combines deep philosophical patience, rigorous structural engineering, and an absolute refusal to let the natural obstacles of the world dictate the boundaries of their destiny. Thank you for hiking across this legendary border with us today. If you want to uncover the world, the countries, and their rich heritage, make sure to hit that subscribe button, drop a like, and tell us in the comments below. What marveled you about the wall? Until next time, keep exploring.